now, and I will just take a moment to share this live.
Yeah, once it's shared, let me know. Oh, wait, can I not share it on my wall?
Um, we, I'm not sure exactly how to do that. I could share it to my timeline and then to the
Yeah,
video and then to the group. Okay, I can totally do that, and then you can share it.
yeah, that was that. Just because if I don't do it, then people are gonna be like, "Where's it at?" And they'll
Yeah,
just be more difficult.
yeah, absolutely. I would like everybody to be able to access this. So I'm
And
calling.
when you introduce that, you can introduce the summit as well, just so that people that didn't catch it know that it's available. Because a lot of people on my wall, they're spontaneous. They don't plan for things, and
Yeah,
so they might have missed that this thing's going on.
absolutely. I love that. Okay, so I'm just going to click that we are going live, and then I will have to
Yeah, you
share
are
it.
now live.
Oh, that was magically fast. It still
It's nice
says
when there's no resistance, right?
absolutely. So I'm going to take a moment to share this into the summit where everything is taking place. Beautiful. So I have
That
shared
is
that.
now shared. Let me just check my page, make sure. Yep.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. While we are just getting the tech set up, I am so glad that you are here. This is a embodiment update with Jason Estes, and I'm streaming this live to my wall, on his wall, but also inside of the Radiant Evolution Playground, which is a free Facebook group where the rest of the summit is taking place. So I will share a link to that as well. So if you want to connect in with a whole bunch of other amazing light leaders, including people you might know, like Carrie Kay will be chatting with us soon, you can join in because this is happening from today. This is our opening day up until Friday. And there's actually 15 different light leaders that are going to be sharing their light and their love and their wisdom, and actual workshops too, where we're going through things like sound alchemy, meditation, breath work, movement, all kinds of fun stuff. So thank you so much for being here. Today, day one of the summit, which is called the Soul Embodiment Summit, is the theme is called Come into Our Center and Be Here Now. So we're bringing everyone into the present moment, but we're also going to expand into all of the other now moments that are coming up because they're very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Jason Estes. I am absolutely overjoyed that he is here with me today because I love Jason's work. Jason, I love you. I love the example that you are to this planet and just about how things are possible when you are living in alignment. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. Jason
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. Jason's a co-founder of the Masters of the Void organization, and they're doing amazing things with different technologies, spiritual and physical. I mean, it's hard to differentiate between both of those things as well as a lot of other exciting stuff. But Jason, there's going to be some people who don't know who you are. Did you want to share any words about yourself?
I just do the best to be myself, like every day, every moment, no matter what the consequence is for that. One of the main things for MTVO is authenticity at all costs. That's our motto. Integrity and excellence in all things we say and do, and authenticity at all costs. So what that means is like, if I'm not being authentic, I'm not the person you manifested. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand yet. So what happens when we go to a room and we aren't ourselves is that room, all the beings in that space ask for us to show up as us. So they're not actually getting the clear message. So while it might make sense for you to cater to them in your own mind, it actually hurts you and them because you're being less of yourself and they're not getting a full representation of what they came for. And so both don't evolve as fast. It's so much better to be yourself always and to have very little friends, but the friends you do have are people you can count on 100% because they know who you really are. When you upkeep a facade, you have a fake group of friends, and that doesn't help. And in this generation, this day and age that we're in now, it's really about being as fake as you can be. And that's actually not true. That's what we've become. But what we're becoming is ourselves again. So the sooner that you decide to allow yourself to be yourself in every moment, the easier life becomes. And also, the more aligned it becomes. And this is a really cool concept because if you go into a room and you're yourself, maybe only one person in that room likes you. That's okay because you went to the room because you were supposed to go to the room. You helped all these other people find out they're not being themselves. And this one person is in your life probably for life as long as you both stay authentic. What happens is you get real friends, people that will be there with you through thick and thin because they know who you are. And I don't mean some grandiose being in time and space. I mean like literally who you are, the real you. And that's very powerful because when you're being real and they're being real, then the world becomes real and you can work through things together.
I love that. I think many of us, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, have been on a journey to back towards authenticity, especially over the last while, and taking off those masks that were protecting us. So I want to offer some gratitude to the lack of authenticity that I did have because it kept me safe until I felt safe enough to come out as me, more of me, and stepping into the full woo that's way too much for people over the last year or two has created really interesting shifts in my relationships for sure. Some people have fallen away, and it's also though magnetized in so many more people that I would consider soul family, because when you're being you, they can find you, they can feel you finally, and so they're just drawn in, and it's amazing to be continually evolving. I think because we're always evolving, becoming authentic is an ever evolving expression of who we are in the moment.
Yeah. Authenticity isn't just a one and done thing. It's a one and done thing every moment. And moments are very fast. So you're not going to be authentic at all times. You're just going to be going towards authenticity. That's a way of life. It's not a thing that you just do once and then you're like, yeah, I'm authentic, guys, everyone. Yeah. Because that's not how it works. It's every choice, every action, every opportunity, facing it as yourself. The coolest part is you'll find that every chance, every opportunity, every connection, when you face it as yourself, you are everything that you need, that you are more than enough for that experience. And there's a freedom in that because no matter what happens in your life, it's irrelevant as long as you show up as yourself. And that's what makes it magical, right? Like when we truly are embodying who we are and we're living in that embodiment, it is miraculous what can occur. I mean, literally miraculous. I can tell you story after story after story after story of what's possible, but I would much rather let you find out on your own because that's what the journey is. The journey isn't about me telling you my journey. The journey is about me showing you that there is a journey and then you going on that journey and telling me about your journey someday because that's where teaching comes from. You becoming the greatest teacher that ever walked the earth for yourself.
I love all of that. It's amazing. And I, again, love that you are this example of authenticity because it does inspire other people to do the same and to step up and to see what is possible. So, speaking of authenticity, this is something I haven't addressed in the summit yet. The summit is called the Soul Embodiment Summit, and I have called myself a soul embodiment guide. And I just want to go through the operational definition of soul because there are a few. And Jason, I know you have a definition of soul, and I'd love for you to share that with us. When I'm talking about soul embodiment, I am talking about not just the soul that is closest to you, but all of your divinity, your unique soul essence expression. It's like a step down from when you are oneness and the all that is. It's when you are fractaling in from that and you are sharing your uniqueness with the world and taking all that you are, the sound, the light, the color, your multidimensionality, and your sound frequencies, your sacred geometry, and being more of that. So soul to me means that fuzzy part and all of that and more. And so Soul Embodiment Summit sounded better than the Spark of the Infinite Creative Consciousness that you are Embodiment Summit, like just to fit with all the graphics. But that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about soul embodiment.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, because I've heard you speak in the past about your definition of what the soul is. If you want to share a little
Yeah,
bit on
it's interesting because when I hear the word embodiment, I realize like that we've been using this word for a while
that.
and that most people don't know what it means yet. And
Mhm.
that's a dangerous thing in the spiritual world today is all these words that people don't define. And it's okay if someone else defines it for you at first. But really, the journey of your own inner journey is you defining your own terms. So what we're going to give you are just our understanding of the term. But it's really important that you take these terms and you explore them yourself. Because when you learn what it means to you, it might mean something completely different to you than it does to us. And there's absolutely 100% nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's where you're at, and you build from there. And when you know your own words, you know your own worth, everything changes. So just remember that before I go into what I understand the world to be, it's what I understand the world to be. It's not what the world is for you. It might be a part of what the world is for you. And again, this is where discernment comes in. So please definitely use your discernment here. For me, soul is like a suit of armor that goes around the spirit. It's what takes on like the karma and the dharma and all this other stuff. So when we're in our world, we're in this suit of armor at first because we can't embody, because we haven't gained the valor and integrity in our own essence yet in the physical form or inside of time. So when we're outside of time, we're all these things, like she said, the oneness, all that perspective. I call that the neural net, but it doesn't matter what we call them. But ultimately, that's the connection to everything, where everything is teaching us all at once. And then you have the step down from that, which is what I call the soul. And then from there, you've got, like your Godhead, and then you've got like your body and so on and so forth, right? But ultimately, the soul is the vehicle that allows you to maneuver inside of time and space. And it takes damage, so to speak, which means like your karmic contracts, all the things you take on to incarnate into physicality. Because prior to that, your mind and everything is running you before your soul begins to run you. And when your soul begins to run you, that's what I call personality. So we have three phases of enlightenment, as I would like to call them, and that's entity, personality, and divinity. So divinity is where embodiment happens. And embodiment means that you've cleaned up enough of your mind that you're now beginning to work through the karma of your soul. And every time that you make room in your soul, your spirit comes into body, which means that you begin to embody into reality as yourself or your divine nature. Many people call these Christed beings, avatars, all these fun words that we can throw on them. But ultimately, all it is your timed version made enough room for your timeless version to come into time and enough density still to stay within time, but having the memory and the information of the timeless. So to me, that's what embodiment is the ability to begin to integrate that infinite value of who you are into the finite reality that you've chosen to play.
Awesome. One of my favorite things about listening to you, Jason, is you take these spiritual concepts that can be challenging to explain without using telepathy and all of that, and you explain them with such clarity because you have such a deep embodied understanding of them. So thank you for that. And I want to just also thank you for really refining what we have mentioned in our opening ceremony in the summit today, is taking what feels resonant for you and letting the rest go and allowing it to be, and just also staying in divine neutrality about other people's opinions and experiences, because there are infinite numbers of truths depending on where you are and who you are and all that you are being.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's key, being in divine neutrality. I love that you pointed that out because if you're going to go on the journey of embodiment, you're going to hear a lot of things that don't make sense to you. It's just how it's going to be. And what's important is that you don't try to change the things that don't make sense to you, that you rather try to understand them, because the things that don't make sense to you are for you to understand. That's the whole premise of why they exist. Because if everything made sense to you, you'd have a really boring life. You would have no challenges to overcome. So therefore, you would really not understand the value of being here. We're here to expand. We're here to grow, right? And wherever you are in the journey, whether you're in entity, whether you're in personality, or whether you're in divinity, is irrelevant. It's just simply understanding that you're going to be in one of those three at some point, or whatever you want to call them. Because when you're an entity, you're mostly in your body. You don't even realize that your body and you are not the same thing. You identify as a body. So you say, when I leave this earth, and you're referring to when your body dies. Okay, but you don't realize that there's something after that. But then when you're more in personality, you're in your mind, so you can begin to travel into other different worlds, and you start to really acknowledge, hey, okay, so I have a body on this planet in this time-space continuum, and I'm able to move with it. And that's personality, because you're identifying as this time-space continuum instead of just this body. And then maybe you identify as the universe, other things, right? A lot of past lives, again, because you're working with soul at this point, mind and soul. But then you get to divinity and you just don't care about anything, because there's nothing more valuable than you, because you're everything and everything is you. And so you just go, well, I'm just gonna have fun. And it doesn't matter what I don't understand and what I do understand, because what I don't understand is going to challenge me to become better if I listen, if I pay attention. It's going to give me an opportunity to embody even further. And so this whole way that the world teaches you to be shifts completely when you hit divinity, because you're just like, I have everything that I need because I am everything. So what's the point of existence? And a lot of people spin here. They get stuck on, what's the point of existence if I'm everything? If I do this thing, does it even matter? And the thing is, it might not matter to everyone, but it'll matter to you and the person you're connecting with. So that does matter, but it's redefining your value in the world. And that's what embodiment is learning to be your own inner motivation. A lot of people talk about how self-made men or self-made women, self-made this and self-made that. All it means is that you have your own drive and your own inner wisdom that's guiding you forward in something that most people aren't willing to do. That's it. That's embodiment in a nutshell. You have nothing of value or worth in the world anymore until you create it, because you've gotten out of personality so far, and the step between personality and divinity is like this, and the step between entity and personality is like this. So you're like, wait a second, I've gone further than I don't understand. Why is there nothing here? Because you have to create it. You have to create your own motivation, you have to create your own purpose, you have to create all these things. And for those of you that are learning this step right now, I call it going into void, which is why we named the organization Masters of the Void, because when you can master the void, you can master anything. There's a great movie around this called Lego Movie, where he learns to embody what it really means to be that and the value that it can be. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a great movie. It's a kid's movie, but you know, kids' movies can be pretty unlocking these days. In fact, I would say they're more unlocking than most. So that being said, when we create our own inner motivation and we create our own inner purpose and we create our own value, then nothing can take it from us ever. And so the world just becomes a backdrop that you're living in. Reality isn't what you thought it was, but it's something that you can make, which is what's crazy. When you begin to play with reality, instead of reality playing on you or against you, as many people will say, then it becomes super fun, because it doesn't matter. You can have a horrible, traumatic experience and it's still a fun game because you got to have it. And you can acknowledge in gratitude that you were given that moment, no matter how hard it was. And this is the beauty of where we're headed, is we're all going to be coming into this as a base understanding. We're coming into a world where we're just ready to play. But a lot of the games that many would call suffering are becoming outdated. So what that means is we're ready to play, but the amount of games that we're going to be playing are less than the games that we were playing right now, because, for instance, war is not a thing that is necessary anymore on this planet. And so we're going to find that we go less to war because we don't need it as much. And then eventually we're not going to need it at all. So we're just going to go to peace, because if you don't need to go to war, why would you? And this is the beauty of where we're going. And again, these are soul contracts. If your soul needs to go to war, then you're going to work through that over these next 3 months, because as we progress forward, all of these outdated contracts are going to come up for us. And it's going to be really obvious, really obvious. It's going to be like, I can see where this road goes. I don't want to go down that road. I'm going to choose this one now.
I love that you're bringing up choice, because that is the most valuable thing, I think, moving forward, is embodying that creator consciousness where you realize you do have choices.
Yeah. Choice is the foundation of the fourth dimension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Third dimension is based on obligation. So if you believe that you are obligated to pay your rent, then you're in 3D around it and you're going to hate your house or your apartment. It doesn't matter. Because resentment forms in the third dimension. For any action taken, an obligation will create resentment as a debt. And until you repay that debt with gratitude, you can't transition into the fourth dimension in that concept.
I love reframing things like that. Paying my rent is something that I get to do.
Exactly. Yeah, because when you pay your rent, you get an opportunity to have a roof over your head. And you earn that opportunity by living and contributing to this game in whatever way that you choose to. It doesn't matter. But you have a responsibility and you honor that responsibility. That creates an opportunity for you to go into resentment or gratitude. Because if you're only honoring your responsibility because of obligation, you're not seeing the greater game, because there's choice in everything. I've been asked, what if you had a gun to your head? I said, well, I still have the choice to get shot in the head. It's still a choice. It doesn't matter how extreme the choice is. It doesn't matter how little you think the choice is. If you can find the choice in anything, then you won't take on the resentment, and the resentment won't hold you into things, and you'll get better choices in the future. Again, until we know our worth, we can't receive it. And every experience gives us a chance to know our worth. And that's where everything changes. Because when you know your worth, everything changes. Worth is like a container, right? And value fills into it. So like value is like water. You actually have infinite of it. It just constantly keeps coming. But if you're using your hands to hold that value, then it just drips right out. And so by the time you get to the thing that you want to show your value to, you have none left. But if you have worth as a container, now the value fills into that container, and that container holds that. And then eventually, as you get better, you get more and more worth so that you can hold more and more value. And then everything changes. Because when you become truly valuable, it means that you have so much self-worth, so much value in your own container, in your own reality, that you can do anything. And others will acknowledge that you can do anything because the value that they see and that they can feel is something that they can actually experience. Whereas if I run to you and I go, look, here's some value, and then by the time I get to you, there's none left, you might look at me and go, I can see that you're trying, and that's something, but you don't really get to experience it other than you have an idea of it. This is kind of like, there are two types of people in the world, and then now there's a hybrid, a third one, which the third one is where we're all headed, so we're all going to get there. But there's these things called dreamers, and there's these things called doers. And the dreamers have the greatest ideas ever. And the doers, for the longest time, had to do what those ideas were so that the world could move forward. And then this really cool thing happened around 1970-ish, maybe 1975, somewhere around there. And dreamers and doers started coming together in a way that started to create a distinction where you couldn't really tell whether they were a dreamer or a doer anymore, because they were doing both. They weren't very good at it, but they were at least trying. They were trying something new. And this whole revolution began. And then around 1985, 1986, they began to get actually good at it. And so it started looking like this. You really couldn't tell where one began and one didn't. And I'm not saying everyone. I'm saying that there were select pockets of these people. And now we're at a point where you get a choice of whether you want to be a dreamer, a doer, or both. Before, it was only a select few examples that could do this. Now everyone on this planet can do this. This is why anyone can become a millionaire now. All you have to do is have the right idea and the skill necessary to create that idea in reality. It's not that hard anymore. It used to be impossible. If you go back into the 50s, becoming a millionaire was literally something that you were either designed to do or it wasn't. Meaning like your life, there's just no other way. And now we have opportunities galore, ideas galore. The whole world is constantly changing. And the reason it's constantly changing is because we have dreamers and doers that are becoming one and the same. One person doing both jobs. One person who's willing to say, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm ready. Let's get this going. And they'll dream it, then they'll go and start doing it, and they'll find other doers that aren't dreamers yet that will help them with it, but they will continue to do it, even with the support, because that's what embodiment looks like. It looks like doing what's in front of you no matter what it is. And I always give the example of IRS tax law because it's one of the most annoying things I ever did, and also one of the greatest things that I've ever learned. It has helped me with so many of my companies and so many things, understanding why things are the way they are. And every day I learn more about it, and it helps me to set up even more and create more opportunities for other people to break free because of this one little thing that was in front of me that I did not want to do with all of my being. All of my being was like, no, please no. I can just hire a lawyer. I can just do these things. I don't want to do this. But instead, I felt in the core of my being that this was what I had to do. This is what was in front of me. And that had to do was what created the resentment and the please no, because I had to do it. If I didn't do it, things would fall apart. And so there was no choice for me. I had to do it. And the moment that I did, I bucked it with everything there was until eventually I said, I don't have to do it. If I don't do this, there will be consequences. But if I can accept those consequences, then I don't need to do this thing. So do I want to do this thing? No. Is it important that I do this thing? Yes. Oh, I'm at an impasse here. What do I do? And then I sat with it and sat with it. And I looked at the rewards of what would happen over time if I did this thing. And this all happened within like maybe 5 minutes, but still, it was a real struggle at the time. And eventually I decided the rewards outweighed the temporary inconvenience. And I began to do it. And it took me about 3 months, but I did it. And to this day, it's been the greatest lesson. And it was the most annoying thing ever to go into and overcome and read, because if you've ever read IRS tax law, you just look at it and you're like, okay, 5 minutes in, I'm done. I just need a break. My brain is just melting. This is crazy. But eventually, you figure out the similarities because everything is part of something. And so you can start going, oh, okay, well, when I was a kid, I learned this thing. And when I was in college, I learned this thing. And if I put these two things together, then it actually kind of fits with this thing. And so now I can kind of understand how this conception works. And now I can go, oh, okay, well, I can apply that. And then I can start applying it. And then I can start to see how it affects everything. Until eventually you realize why it was written in the first place. You begin to understand the creation of it. And then you can flow with it. Because when you can understand the creation of it, you're not fighting it anymore. You're transmuting it. And everything changes because there's no resentment. And instead of me hating IRS tax law, I can embrace it in its understanding. And all of a sudden, everything changes. People come to me and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. And I'm like, well, did you know about this thing? Because I spent time with what's in front of me. Now, this person is free to unlock and look at these new things from different angles that they couldn't see before. Because we all have a part to play. A lot of people tell me that they don't feel like spiritual teachers because they work at a 9-to-5 job. And I tell them that's probably the greatest way to be a spiritual teacher, because you're in the world being an example. Are you being an example of resentment? Are you being an example of kindness? Are you being an example of love? Are you being an example of spiritual principles? I don't know. It's not my place to know. All I can tell you is you're being an example no matter where you are in the world. So it's your choice what you're being an example of. If you think that you're obligated to go to work, then you don't realize yet that that's a gift, because you're given an opportunity to be in front of people and to be yourself, which is the hardest thing anyone will ever do, is be themselves in a world. And it's the reason that we're all called to go into the world together now. Because if we want to change the world, it's us that has to change first. And that resentment has to go away.
I love that. I have quite a few clients who are entrepreneurial at heart, but they're still working their 9-to-5 gig, and they want to make this leap, but there's something that's stopping them. And it's all going to happen for them eventually. You can feel it, that their ideas and their service is going to be what they dream of, but there's a reason they are where they are right now. And I can feel it and share with them that they're there holding and anchoring in that light, right? And sharing it with people that otherwise would have no other exposure to it. So it's what's in front of them right now. It's that perhaps a soul contract to be sharing and shining their light into maybe a program or structure that doesn't have a lot otherwise.
Yeah. You can ascend anything, no matter what it is. And everything is part of something. So no matter what, if you show up 100%, you'll ascend it faster than if you show up as 5% because you're annoyed and 95% of you is in resentment. Because here's the thing, like if I go to, like, it doesn't matter what job I could do, but any job in the world, if I go to it and I show up every day on time as myself fully, I'm either going to get fired from that job because a new job will be created, or I'll get promoted in that job until I meet the right person who's then able to help me see my own value in a different way. And then I begin to expand my worth in that. And each time that I do that, each time I am able to hold more value. So the world's actually designed for you to ascend. It's just very difficult to get out of the first few levels because resentment holds you in place. If you run from anything, you will face it again. Work is no different. If you don't like working a 9 to 5 job, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But until you do like working a 9 to 5 job, good luck actually holding anything else. We all have to revisit the past until we solve it. And we revisit the past by being present. And the coolest part is that there's so many teachings out there that tell you you have to dig and all this other stuff. But just take a second and actually think about like what happens if you're at this level and you start digging. Digging goes down. Why would I want to do that? When I actually live my life like I'm supposed to, there are sandstorms that blow away all the stuff and then I can see all the hidden. Because life is designed to unlock you. When you learn by living, you actually have wisdom, not knowledge. And there are tons of people who read books on living but can't apply it. Don't be one of them. Instead, be someone that applies wisdom, learns from it, continues to go forward until you have enough worth that you can hold value and change the world. That's how you become a dreamer and a doer. We all have great ideas. Every single person out there has great ideas. Every single person. But it requires something to get that idea grounded into this world, which is that container that I'm telling you about. That's your worth. Your idea is wonderful. It's the most valuable thing ever. But if you can't hold it in your hands, then it's really hard for someone else to even get an idea around that. So like if you came to me and you said, I have the greatest idea ever, and you showed me, but your hands were empty, I would have to look at drips, little tiny pieces of your idea. And you could express as much as you wanted around your wholeness of your idea, but you can't contain it. It's really hard for me to find out what it was that you were trying to go to. But if you have the worth to hold it, and like you're actually in a real container, you go, look, I can show you this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle, this angle. I'm like, oh, I get it. I can see all the pieces. Okay, well, here's my part to it. And you'll find that collaboration comes naturally. People will want to help you with all that they are. They will message you and be like, hey, I don't know what it is about you, but I want to help you. And I don't know what I can offer. And I don't know any of it. And then you just go, okay, well, here's what I'm doing. And they go, this is what I can offer you. Because you can show them. This is where magic happens. When you have enough worth to hold value, you can change the world. Prior to that, it's about you gaining your worth. And you know how you find your worth? This is the coolest part. You live. So as long as you draw breath, you're figuring out your worth. You might crack your worth at first just because you don't know what you don't know, but you can also repair it. I like to think of worth like a clay jar. It's really easy. So like if I crack it, I just go and get more clay and I take time to mend it and get it better, right? It's not that hard to fix mistakes. But we've been taught that once you make a mistake, you're screwed for life. That's not true. If you were, you'd be dead right now. If you can no longer complete what you came here to complete, you will no longer be on this plane. That's how it works. It's one of the most constant rules of the universe. If you do an action that takes you out of the game, you either graduated the game or you could no longer play the game. But as long as you're still in the game, I don't care if you have cancer and you're in a hospital bed and you're on your last breath, miracles happen. I don't know what's next. You don't know what's next. None of us do. That's what makes this game so much fun. But if you're still breathing, you can still be thinking about things. You can still be coming up with concepts. You can still bring something to this world because you're supposed to. So for anyone out there who goes, Jason, I have screwed up my life beyond repair. There's no way that I'm ever going to be worth anything again. I don't think that's true. You're listening to me right now, which means you're alive. It means you might be dead next minute. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because right now you're alive. So forgive yourself for the misunderstanding that you are not worth anything. Because if you're not worth anything, truly not worth anything, you're not alive anymore. So find what you actually are worth. And forgive yourself for not knowing that you are worth something. Because when you forgive yourself of that, you begin a healing journey that all I can do is celebrate. I don't care how messy it looks or anything because no one does. No one gets it right the first time. And it doesn't matter what it looks like right now because it's not about that. You don't look at your life and go, well, this moment, this is when you die. You don't look at your life and go, well, this moment over here, I screwed up royally. No, you look at your totality and go, you know what? I got like 80% of it right. I'm really happy with that. So this 20% here, let's go ahead and move it over. Let's come back and let's try it again. I know what I don't know then, and I'm ready to try again, right? Because you want to understand, you want to finish things. Because when you master one thing, you master a part of all things. And if you master enough things, you master all things. So don't forget that. If you are alive right now, you have worth. You just have to forgive yourself to begin to rebuild it. Find that clay and start to repair it.
I love that. It's really just the belief that that does not have any accuracy represented in the world. We all have so much. And I honestly believe that the people who have made the most mistakes are going to be able to transmute that into more successes because you learn so much from them, right? You can turn that shit into gold. Right?
It's really hard to repair an urn with clay. But if you get good at it, everyone's urns need help.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you learn how to repair your urn? You break it first.
Mm-hmm.
So your worth, the greatest teachers of this world screwed up more than anyone else. But they never gave up. And that's why they're the greatest teachers, is because they never gave up. They looked just like you and me. They were making their journey, but eventually they succeeded more than they failed. And people started taking notice and said, hey, you know, there's something different about you. What is it? And you're like, well, when I was 5, I screwed up all the way until I was 30. Now that I'm 31, I feel like I actually have some understanding. You go, wow, well, what did you learn from all those mistakes? And you tell them. And then this person now has room to make choices that you didn't have room to make choices. And you move all of humanity forward because you changed one person's life. It's not hard to change a person's life. You can smile at them on having a bad day, and you don't even know if they're having a bad day. So just smile all the time. It's really easy to change the world. It's not as big as people think it is. It's the small little ripples that actually change the world, because a small ripple in an area runs into another small ripple in an area, and it creates a larger ripple across the globe until eventually enough people are doing it. There's this new movie that came out, and I loved Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I thought that it was one of the greatest movies when I was a kid. And now that I'm older, the new one just came out, and they waited. Keanu Reeves waited for the perfect day to release it, which was this weekend. And if you get a chance to watch it, it's called Face the Music. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. After I finished watching that movie, I was just sitting there like, wow, I feel like all the burdens that I've taken on this entire lifetime are completely removed from me, and I get the value of life now. And I'm telling you that after all that I've learned, that movie probably changed more in me in that hour and a half than any movie ever has. And I love movies. So it's a very strong recommendation to watch this movie if you feel it's in front of you. Obviously, if it's in front of you. It's got a weird sense of humor, but if you pay attention to what the message is behind all of it, it's incredibly well done. And I really love Keanu Reeves. I think that every movie he's in changes the world in a big way. So
That's amazing, because that's the next movie that I'm watching with my husband. So I appreciate that glowing review. That's super exciting.
you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I am so excited to be able to really tap into so much, like, and notice it. You share this all the time about, people are always saying like, oh, TV is bad, turn off your TV, you know, get outside. But there is so much wisdom that is being shared with the world through the media, like film, TV shows right now. It's amazing.
So
And
there's a key to this. If you watch anything from escapism, it's bad. Just like anything in the world, when done improperly, can be bad. For example, let's take a bow and arrow. You can use it to hurt someone, or you can use it to shoot across a ravine and to get a rope there so that you can actually begin to build a bridge. You choose how you use the tool. It doesn't matter why someone built what they built. This is the biggest misunderstanding that we have. We think that something inherently is evil. So you could build an atomic bomb, and it could be used as an atomic bomb, or you could have learned something in the process that changes everything. There's so many ways to look at anything. And if you choose to use the lenses of everything is evil, you're going to find evil in the world everywhere you look. And that's totally fine. You can. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because again, to each their own journey. I personally love to be happy. And so I look at the world for its goodness, and I have glasses that I wear that show me the world's goodness, and I invest in those good things because I like to see them more. So when I see a butterfly, I say, hello, butterfly, so that I see more butterflies because I'm acknowledging to my world what I like about it. Does that mean that I'm not okay with seeing other things? No, I'm totally okay with seeing other things. But I like certain things of life, like lightning bugs. They're incredible, you know? Whatever it is in life that I want to have more of, I acknowledge, I celebrate it. Because when you resent something, you're doing the same thing, except you're doing it in the opposite direction. So if you say, I hate this thing, congratulations, you just got more of it. The universe doesn't know whether you hate something or you love something. It just says, oh, you put energy on this, it must be important. Here you go. So you say, I don't like men, congratulations, you now have more men in your life than usual. I don't like men because of blank. Okay, now you have more men that are this way. Awesome, nothing wrong with it. Just get ready because you're creating more of it. If you say hello butterfly, you get more butterflies. I really love butterflies. That's not a thing I don't really, I could have a million butterflies around me and I'd still actually be extremely happy at that point. The point is, whatever you love, celebrate it and do more celebration than you do resentment. And you'll notice that your world becomes better every day instead of worse. And that's a choice. That's a choice we all have. So when I was in debt, I was really in debt. I had student loans. I had all of the stuff that everybody talks about, mortgage, all that jazz. And every single payment that I could make, I considered a celebration because I was getting one step closer to that freedom. And so instead of saying I hate debt, I was like, wow, debt, thanks for holding space for me. I'm really grateful that you were able to give me this loan and that you're able to make some money off of it so you can give other people loans so that I can get my house. I really love my house. Thank you for that. And here's my payment. In fact, here's a little extra for my payment because I'm so grateful for what you did. And it might only have been $1 extra, but I tried to always give more than what I was asked because I wanted to leave the world better than when I got here. And I thought the best way to do that was always to give just a little bit more. On our app, we call it plus abundance. In reality, I call it the same thing, plus abundance. Like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, but I'm also going to do it plus abundance. So you asked me to show up for a minute. I'm going to be here for 5. Doesn't cost me that much more, but it creates so much more value because I'm going above and beyond what I'm asked to do. This is how I show up 100%. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to show up and it's going to be awesome. When you live life like that, you begin to celebrate more than you resent and your world becomes more awesome. And that's embodiment. Embodiment is chipping away at the illusions, the distortions, the misunderstandings, and finding truth. Because when you live in truth, the world is an incredible place to be. No matter who's president, no matter what's happening next, no matter if there's a virus on the planet, because you can find pockets of happiness anywhere you go because you're creating them. And not only are you finding these pockets, but you're enhancing them because you're showing up with plus abundance. So now it's easier for the next person to find that same pocket. And then if they show up with plus abundance, now it's easier for the next person. Now it's easier for the next person. Now it's easier. So eventually the whole world is that one pocket that once was because everyone found it because you showed up with plus abundance. So don't forget that. That's probably the greatest thing that I've ever learned and the reason that I am where I am.
I love that. And I didn't have a name for it. That's perfect because that is a practice that I do when I'm paying my day home. It's like, and here's an extra day's worth, and it just lifts me up. And the world is a magical place when we are just sharing so freely and generously, and what we focus on expands. So you're speaking my language and my heart is singing. I love it.
You're really, really gonna love that movie.
Okay, amazing. And I also had a love for the Lego movie, and I taught joyful movement in elementary schools for about 5 or 6 years and played Everything is Awesome, I'm sure daily for the kids. And sharing that light with them was what was in front of me then. So I'm also just an eternal optimist because I can feel into and see this future of where we're headed, right? I can feel it in me. I can see evidence of it, but not everybody can really look around right now, depending on the lens they're looking through, and see where it is that we're headed. So one of my favorite things about hearing from you is your optimistic expression of the majesticness of where we are going as humanity. Did you want to share anything with us about that?
Well, you guys made it through one of the harder parts. Like August was actually designed to be one of the hardest months that we would ever go through because we unlocked our universal energy centers. So now we are now connected to the omniverse, and now it's just a matter of time. As each day progresses, what happens is more of you is embodied, and you get a choice. Like this is the cool part. So if you've done a lot of work before, and instead of having soul stuff to heal, you're actually embodying your divinity into form. And if you haven't done a lot of work, it doesn't matter because that extra value is now bypassing your mind and coming into your soul and beginning to clean it up. And the coolest part is it's not some crazy external force. It's you outside of time and space that's handing you all the things you need. So this isn't something where it's like, oh, I'm being disempowered by some. No, you're being given information from a version of you that's greater than you that you're on the direction headed towards. Because someday there will be no difference between you and it. All it is something that has already done more than you have done in this moment. It's kind of like people ask me, like, how did I get to where I am? And I say, I lived. And they go, well, I've lived too. And I said, yeah, but were you paying attention? And they go, well, I mean, I show up. I'm like, okay, cool. So you show up for how many hours? Well, I do like a 1 hour, 2 hour here. I go, well, I do 24. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just paying attention to 24 hours. When I catch myself off autopilot, I celebrate it because I'm like, oh yes, I'm still here. This is awesome. I'm paying attention. When I catch myself on autopilot, I stop in the middle of it. Like the number one thing, this is the quickest way to break out of autopilot. Mannerisms. So if you have an itch on your head, you instead of doing this, and many people do it, they'll be like, oh, you know, they're scratching, they don't know what's going on. It's like they have fleas. That's like what I call invisible ant syndrome. It's the spiritual body mind taking value from you in that moment that you don't even know is happening. So instead, you just go, oh, thank you for showing me what's next to heal. I am committing to scratch my head, right? Because now every movement, everything I'm in, I'm bringing my divinity. I am into that space so that I can be embodied in that action and change everything. And that is called paying attention. And when you pay attention, you gain worth very fast. But most people, they live their life on autopilot. They don't even know. They go to a bar after work and they drink themselves drunk until they can get home and fall asleep because they're exhausted and they're so stressed and they can't imagine life. And instead of even, like, they could even commit to drinking that shot. And that would be so much better for them because that fills in the space where that addicted entity is that's needing you to fulfill this thing because it can't upkeep what you're doing. And again, entity is just something that you're not being responsible for. So if you're going out on autopilot every night to drink, catch yourself. Say, hey, okay, I'm willing to drink. This is totally fun, but I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to pay attention to what this is actually doing. I'm going to take this shot and I'm going to feel my body and see where that alcohol went. I'm going to feel it go down my throat. I'm going to feel how it affects my liver. I'm going to feel how it affects everything. And then I'm going to make an educated decision on whether or not this is good for me or not. Because once you can acknowledge something's not good for you, you will naturally use all the power in your mind to find ways out of it, as long as you pay attention. But the more that you understand something's not good for you, the more that you can put value to it, right? Because it's a worth thing. Am I worthy of doing things that are good for me? Am I worthy of that? And at first, you're probably not, because that's okay. Everyone's not until they get to that point. Again, all your jars might have holes in them. So you fill it up and you're like, look, look. And then there's nothing left by the time that you show someone. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's about repairing. And you repair by paying attention. You're paying your attention to repair your worth. You have infinite attention. This is the coolest part. So you're paying something that you have infinite of to heal something that's finite. How cool is that? That's like the best bargain there ever was. But you got to take the time to pay attention instead of paying something else to be attention for you. This is where the game changes forever. So if you are one of those people that's drinking, if you're one of those people that's doing heroin, I don't care what you're doing. And I don't care if you think it's right or wrong. I don't care if I think it's right or wrong. All I care about is that you pay attention in whatever it is. So any example you can come up with, just pay attention to it.
Yeah, the presence shifts everything. Your attention plus your intention then of what it is that you want to create is where I always find the magic happens.
Yeah. Even the things you don't want to create are magical, though. For those of you that like go, I want the perfect boyfriend because, last time I had a boyfriend, they were abusive and it was really bad. That's okay because you're going to create most likely a boyfriend that will pretend to be good and then be abusive. But if you pay attention, the next time you can forgive and say, I forgive myself for going through this situation, for thinking that's what I'm worth. I can see that spot now where the jar is cracked and I can actually go and I can begin to repair it. Every situation you've ever had, whether it's good or bad, is irrelevant. All that matters is you learn from it. Because as you do that, you'll have more and more experiences that I consider enjoyable experiences. All experience is important, but there are ones that I enjoy more than others.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I really appreciate the lens of perspective and always share it with people. I call it the joyful alchemy, is that hindsight of seeing how important whatever that not enjoyable experience was for creating the circumstances that are going to make a shift for you, where we have to learn and grow from those experiences. Because humans, I find, we're kind of lazy. We like to just be where we are, so we often need some kind of outside force or a circumstance to be a catalyst for our expansion, for our growth, right?
Yeah,
So, and being able
at
to
first.
sit in gratitude for those crappy experiences is where, again, that magical creation happens.
The magic of acceptance. This
Yeah.
is my life right now. It doesn't mean it's my life tomorrow.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. This is so rich and it just aligns so beautifully with what everybody is moving through right now. Is there anything else that you were wanting to share that you feel would be useful for people that are going through the embodiment process and moving through this now?
So everyone here, you're going through the embodiment process.
Mhm.
Congratulate yourself. You made it. You made it to a point where now you're embodying, regardless of whether you want to or not. You now get to. So congratulations on that. That being said, September is really about the body itself and making room. So August was about us unlocking our infinite capability. And now that we've begun this process of unsealing that, like it's completely unsealed, but now you get to do the work to connect to it, right? So that it's kind of hard to explain in that way, other than saying there's nothing restricting you anymore other than yourself. That used to not always be the case. There were benchmarks that like you hit a ceiling. You'd be like, wait, what? Why did I rush to get here? No one else is here. What was the point? And then you find yourself here again. You're like, oh, hey, I know exactly what comes next. Here, let me help you. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. Oh, look. And then now there's two people. And those people keep coming until eventually this thing dissolves because there's enough people ready to move forward. So embodiment used to be much like that. Now there's nothing stopping you from that, which is really cool. But the thing that's keeping you from getting there now is your body itself. So September is really about unlocking the potential of our bodies, really connecting to the physical or finite aspect of us and bringing the infinite into that. This is about us cultivating worth. This is about us finding who we actually are, what we're really valuable at, who we are in that essence, and letting reality be this backdrop that shows us how. So learning by living and paying attention are the two keys for September. If you want to succeed in September, all you have to do is pay attention and acknowledge that every experience, no matter what you think of it, is still helping you get to where you're going, and then find gratitude for it. And if you need to in between here, forgiveness works really well. It's like the greatest way to come to neutrality is forgiveness, because forgiveness is an extreme, just like a mistake is an extreme. And if you forgive your mistake, you come to neutrality. Well, when you're in neutrality, there's nothing to be forgiven. So you don't really have the need to forgive. But if you can't move forward, you're not in neutrality. You're in polarity. And as long as you're in polarity, forgiveness is the key. I don't care what it's in. I don't care who it's for. Ultimately, forgiveness is the key if you're in polarity. And if you're in neutrality, then moving forward is all that's left, because like there's nothing blocking you when you're in neutrality. Literally nothing matters at all unless you make it matter. And then when you make it matter, you are in polarity. So it just how it goes. But ultimately, the beauty of our lives, we're about to start to really acknowledge as we come into September. We're going to start to feel our bodies coming online. And now that we have connection to coming online with, you're going to find that there's very little that can stay within. There's resistance that's going to come up for you, but it's going to come up in waves and kind of like waft off of you. Instead of being this thing where you're like, I'm stuck in this box and there's just no way out. That box will dissolve naturally. It's just about breathing and watching the box dissolve. We're in a world where we're becoming unboxed. We're becoming unsealed. We are becoming that which we came here for. September is about that. October is another massive download of who we are. It's got an avatar window, like, and it's mostly the whole month. I mean, I can't even fathom what that looks like at this point. There was an avatar window several years back, and it was like 3 days long, and it was the greatest 3 days of my life. The greatest 3 days of my life. And now I get like a whole month about it, basically, from the 10th of October to the 28th of October. Like, what? This is going to be insane. But first, we have to make room in our bodies. Because if we want to embody our avatar essence, understand that level of divinity, we just have to make room. The coolest part is the work isn't about going up here and being esoteric and like knowing all these things about the Akashic records and all your past lives. No, it's not that anymore. It's about taking one step in front of the other in this world and paying attention. That's it. So all of the confusion and the chaos of the spiritual planes and all the things that you used to have to get a teacher to teach you how to do and all this other stuff, it's irrelevant now. I'm not saying it doesn't help. And if it's in front of you to do it, go for it. But it's not required. All that's required is you live your life in the best way you can and show up and pay attention. I have a mantra that I teach people, and it's like my major thing. I live by it. Be good, do good, have faith, enjoy the ride. That's it. If you are good, meaning that you know in your essence that you are good, then what are you doing from that space to help others realize that they can also be good? And if you're doing both of these, then where are you not in faith? What in your life right now is something that's too heavy for you, that's impossible? Because if that's the case, then you're not in faith. Because if you're being good and you're doing good, then everything else is taken care of. And that's faith. That's the magic of it. Now, this is a real question, though. Am I really good? Not do I believe I'm good, but am I really good? These are real questions. You have to ask. You have to go and be honest with yourself. Because if I say, am I good? And I go, oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't I be? That's not a true statement, ever. If you say, am I good? And you get, well, I'm at 95% goodness. Then you know what? You can move to, well, am I doing good? Because that extra 5% by doing good is actually going to reflect where you can evolve. And that's always going to be the case. You're always going to be evolving in being good and doing good. And that's the value of showing up at plus abundance, right? But having faith, that's the fifth dimensional principle. That's saying I am at a level of goodness that I feel confident in who I am. I am doing enough good in this world that I feel confident the world is headed in the right direction. And now it's just about knowing that other people will do the same. I have faith in humanity. I have faith that we will do this. And then my favorite one, enjoy the ride. Because now you know that everything is headed in the right direction, and it's just about having fun with it. And it is super awesome when you're in the enjoy the ride phase of life. Because you're paying attention. And every moment is worth so much more than a moment was before.
Yeah. That does feel amazing to be on the ride, because it is kind of like a roller coaster. There are a lot of ups and downs, but I always just like to share with people that being on a roller coaster can be either terrifying or it can be exhilarating. And again, you get to choose. So.
And the roller coaster example is a really good one. I love using that as well, because if a roller coaster goes slow, you don't feel all the bumps as much. But if the roller coaster is going fast, you're feeling all the bumps and shaking way more, because that's how it works. Well, the faster that the ride becomes, which is more people doing good, being good, the more bumps you're going to feel at first. But it also can make the roller coaster more fun. So remember that the faster you go, the more that you're going to feel. And this is something that people haven't yet put together in their minds, because I run into so many people like, I don't understand. I started doing spiritual work and all of a sudden all this stuff started coming out for me. I'm like, because you sped up. The faster that you move, the more that you witness, the more that you have to pay attention, the more that it requires to stay in that presence. And it stays like that. It's going to be like that for the rest of your life. You're going to constantly go faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And you're going to have more to process because you're going faster. Think of a car. If you're driving at 10 miles an hour, you can see the trees. You can probably even see animals. I think you try driving that car at 1,000 miles an hour. You're going to see things, probably going to be really blurry, but you're still going to be processing all that information. So also, if you think of it from a car perspective, if you hit a rock, a little tiny pebble at 10 miles an hour, it's not going to matter. Yeah, it's going to bump your car a little bit. You're like, okay, whatever. You hit that same thing at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're going to flip your car. It doesn't take as much to crash when you're going faster. So do your best to speed up naturally. And this is the best advice I can give anyone out there. Most of you know that I'm not pro-drug. I'm actually anti-drug. I think that it's one of the most dangerous things that we can do because we're adding artificial speed to our spiritual involvement, which can create lots of problems in the future. If you're trained to go 100 miles an hour because you took something and you never learned how to drive at 10 miles an hour, you are a danger to yourself and others in that speed. That's not saying that you're not going to eventually learn how to drive that fast, because you will. Everyone will. But it means that you're probably going to have a lot more trauma than you needed because you're going to be going too fast for yourself. Your body's going to break down easier. It's why people who do too much things too fast, it's not good for them, even if it was good for them to do maybe like a month later. So everything that is in front of you at the proportion it's in front of you for will always cause you to expand, meaning you can handle greater speeds. But if you expand too fast, which is called inflation, then you're going to have to pop back down eventually. And this is not a bad thing. Those of you out there that are like, well, I've inflated, I'm a horrible person. No, you inflated because that's how we understood reality. It's totally okay that you inflated. When you pop, it's going to be totally okay that you popped. Take the time at the level that you actually are to begin to pay attention and expand, because even though this may look slower now, it is incredibly amazing, and you will go faster than you can imagine because it will be natural speed, which means you'll actually be able to handle what's in front of you. And then the more that you handle, the faster you move, instead of taking things to move faster than you should, because then you're always going to have more than you should have, and that is a very rough place to be. If you ever have more than you should have, you're actually being weighed down on, and that weight hurts. It really does. Your body actually, it's one of the reasons most people's bodies are giving out right now. They either don't have enough because they don't know their own worth, or they have too much because they don't know their own worth. So they're just taking things that they don't belong to them, and they're holding them and storing them because they're afraid. You know, the only reason that we ever take more than we're worth is because we're afraid. This is a really fun fact. The more that you take that doesn't belong to you, the more that's going to be taken from you. So it actually doesn't serve you. No matter what happens, you're always going to only have what you're worth eventually. So if you get comfortable with things that you're not worth, be prepared to have that removed from you. But if you actually earn who you are in this world, you will never, ever, ever have anyone question your value, because you have that worth so strongly that when it's filled, it stays filled. And you can not only show them every angle of your worth because you have mastered it, but also it's almost tangible. People can feel it naturally because value vibrates. And the more valuable that you are, the more that you vibrate. But again, value is something that is filled, right? So like you have to have worth first. Strengthen your container, learn to go at your own speed, and enjoy the ride. And by being good, you find who you are. By doing good, you begin to share your value with the world. And the world acknowledges that. That's what faith is. Not only does it acknowledge that, but it actually supports it. It's insane what you can accomplish when you are your real size. Because again, this goes back to the very beginning of what we talked about with embodiment. If I go to a room as myself 100%, the only reason I would ever be in that room at 100% is because someone or something is important in that room for my process and for me, their process. There's a balanced exchange that will occur. But if I go into that room at 80%, that person might be showing up at 100%, and I might not want to look at that 20% of me. So I might actually refuse to connect with that person because I'm going to call them something. But if I show up at 100% and they show up at 100%, I can accept them for all that they are, and they can accept me for all that they are, or all that we are, and everything changes. So at the very, like, looping all this around, completing where we began this journey today, be yourself no matter what. One of my favorite quotes is by Dr. Seuss. Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Be yourself. Actually, I think it goes, be yourself, for those who matter don't mind. Yeah, but anyway, ultimately, Dr. Seuss knew exactly what it was about. So when we show up as ourselves 100%, the world honors that at the same value. And you will never show up to anything in life at 100% that you're not meant to be at. I can promise you that. No matter what the experience is, you will never show up to anything in life, if you show up at 100%, that you don't belong at. It will never happen, ever. You will never have an experience that wasn't meant for you if you show up at 100%. But you really got to ask yourself, am I willing to show up at 100%? Am I willing to look? Am I willing to take inventory of who I really am and who I'm not? And am I willing to work on the things that I am not, that I'm shown in that experience of 100%? Because your 100% is going to change in every moment. That is the mantra. That is the reason that we formed Master of the Void organization, is because we're a group of people who dedicated our lives to living that principle and trying it out. And I can tell you it's not easy, and we don't always succeed, because again, it's pioneering. Pioneering makes making a path, and there's no path forward, so we have to make one. So that being said, for those of you that are out there that are going, wow, this sounds incredible, I really want to try this, this is awesome, all you have to do is show up in the next moment as 100%. And if that says going to the grocery store, cool, go to the grocery store at 100%. And be prepared to be shocked at how amazing the world actually is. Because anytime that you show up, no matter what, at 100%, you're always going to have the perfect experience, and it's going to unlock something deep within you. So go forth and live your life at 100%. Really enjoy it. And then add plus abundance.
That is my favorite thing ever, to just actually enjoy it. And I will share very honestly, for most of my life, joy has been very accessible to me, and I held myself back from fully enjoying it because the collective consciousness and the people around me weren't there, right? And they were like, well, why are you so happy, right? And I was like, oh, is that wrong? Is that something I shouldn't be doing? And so it has been coming back into my authenticity, has been stepping more fully into my joy. And there are lots of times that I just want to be grinning and smiling because I'm really enjoying everything. And then I'm like, oh, I better tone it down because it's too much for a lot of people. And this is my lesson right now, is letting like all of that joy fully be expressed, because it doesn't matter if it's not comfortable for other people.
Yeah.
Right?
So a little on that part, just for those of you that are out there that are older and are like, hey, it wasn't safe. It wasn't. You're right. Absolutely 100%. It wasn't safe to be all that you were, because you would have been murdered, or, really bad things would have happened to you because they would have put your light out. That's okay too. That's the old world. We are not there anymore. So for all of you that are like, but it's not safe, I've been out fully in my videos for 2 years now because it's finally safe. And my very first video, if you actually watch it, I was terrified. Like, I even say it at the end. I'm like literally terrified because I was stepping out. And for the longest time, I've been behind the scenes, literally on projects all over the world, doing things that no one will ever know about because it wasn't safe. And I was on a team that was helping to make it safe. But if I had ever been discovered, I would have been murdered. Many of my friends were. It was a very unsafe world. However, that is not the world we're in today. A lot of people on this planet, including yourselves, worked very hard to create an opportunity to build a world where we could be ourselves. So go out and enjoy the fact that we succeeded. Like, that's the thing. Go out and enjoy it. You did the work. You're there. Now go and actually manifest the perfect experiences for yourself. Go and enjoy it. You earned it.
And we get to have some fun with it, right?
Yes, that's what enjoying is. Yeah,
Yeah.
super fun. I love it. I love life. I mean, I just got a puppy for the CFE, and she's so incredible, and I can't wait to play with her. It's so much fun. Like all of my dreams, everything I've ever worked hard for since I was like 4 years old, like all of this stuff is finally here. I mean, we've got these patches that are going to be going live soon. Like all of this stuff that just is insane is like now, not only is it insane still, but it's insane and built. And you're like, hey, wait, what? How is this insanity in physicality? And like I can't even fathom what it does. Like we built these patches and they're little hearts, and they work with a microcurrent system, and they're for women when they're in their menstrual cycle. And we had some test runs with it. And when they put it on them, it actually stabilized the 32 currents that run through. And so immediately they were like this, and they were fully actualizing at that 32 points, which is where enlightenment is. And it was just crazy. I was like, wow, I really want those on my body now, because it was so incredibly, like, we couldn't have expected it to happen at that level, and it did. And it's just like, this is the world we live in now, where we can use technology to stabilize our own divinity, and then actually never need that technology. Like all of these patches, the things that we're designing, they're designed to not be needed. Like you use them until you're done, and then once you've learned the same concept, you don't need something to show you, but it reflects that thing. It teaches you what you need to see. And there's so many technologies like that, the PNR, the source seed, activation station, like everything is just coming together. We have our coursework app after almost 2 years of grueling work going live on the 8th of September. This is so big. This is so big. Like I've been, I can't. It's going to make courses 500 times more efficient and stronger than they were before. And they were already ridiculous. Like people who've taken coursework are like, how is that possible? Because time magic, right? But now it's like even more efficient and more stable. And they're like, okay, we don't even know what that's going to look like. We're really excited, but we're also like, this is going to be a new paradigm. Like, what does this mean? 500% more effective means like, it's like them taking the course 5 times. Like, what? I can't even imagine what it would be like taking that course 5 times. So yeah, joy beyond joy is the world that we live in. More incredible things. We've got Thrive going live this month as well. Like or not this month because it's not September yet, but basically soon. Like everything is coming together. Center for Expansion is coming up. It's like, the world that we have worked to build, and I'm not just saying me, everyone watching, that world, it's here right now. Go out and enjoy it.
I love that. My company is called Joy Evolution.
There you go.
So I'm all over that. And I'm so excited for your app that's coming out. I had just made the decision yesterday. I was like, I feel like coursework's in front of me now. So great timing.
Yeah, it was way more complex before. Now it's going to be on an app. So like there will be videos for each practice. You'll be able to scroll through it. The facilitator thing is going to be put together. So all of our facilitators will be shown. I mean, this is like a huge, huge feature. Like a lot of work has gone into this. Hours and hours and hours and hours of videos being shot, millions of dollars, like just tons of stuff gone into this to create this opportunity so that everyone in the world can do it. And right now it's a little bit more difficult because you have to pay the exact value of the course, but we're working on ways to fix that. And there's a sheet system coming soon, which allows people to do payment plans with no interest so that they can actually take courses, I think as low as like $5 a month or something. So we're working on trying to create things so that everyone in the world can afford them. Because, if you cancel your Netflix subscription, which I don't recommend right now, but if you wanted to, you totally could. And that's like $9. Well, if a course only costs you $5, it works. The wealth management thing, one of my friends that created this really amazing app, he did this rant about Netflix. And every time I hear Netflix now, I laugh because he said, look, if you say you don't have any money to invest, that's totally fine. But if you have Netflix or anything else, cancel it, use that same money and invest it. And in 8 months' time, you'll have money to invest. And his students actually came back to him and said, I have my first Bitcoin. And all they did was cancel their Netflix and follow his advice. And actually, now they have 11 grand that they're able to invest just from canceling Netflix for like 8 months. So it's crazy what we're capable of when we get out of our own way.
Yeah, especially now that things have opened up and there aren't those external barriers that are keeping us down.
Absolutely. I'm going to be doing a wealth management thing pretty soon where I actually talk about how to stay wealthy, because gaining wealth is easy. Maintaining wealth, probably the hardest thing that there is. And I'm planning on putting together like all of these friends of mine that are like millionaires and billionaires and like put them together and just starting to ask questions and putting it all out there, because the time for secrecy and like all these things, it's over. I just met with my grandfather, and he was in bonds at like 0.5%. I didn't even know that level of investment existed. I didn't know it was that bad out there. I'm used to playing with like anything from 15 to 18% a year. Like I didn't realize that the world had gotten to that level of like unfairness, to be honest with you. So a lot of what I've been working on has been creating wealth opportunities for people, and I'm creating more and more of them. The tram is going to be doing insanely good. We've got Coin Metro is now going live with an invest platform, which I'm going to be doing a thing with the CEO of that and really getting it all out there, because the world just needs to know that it's actually time to play. We have all these opportunities. It's time to play. So it's insane to see like where we're headed, because where we're headed is the world as if there was nothing resisting and pushing you into a hole, because it wasn't designed that way. If corruption didn't exist, the systems that we have would be perfect. I'm not even like we actually have a perfect world. The systems, currency, everything that people don't like. If corruption wasn't a factor in it, it was a great idea. But corruption screwed everything up, which is what it does. So if you remove corruption, though, like what's left? Purity. And all the systems that we have in play, when they're pure, are actually going to help people succeed instead of make sure that people fail. And that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, helping everyone have opportunities to succeed. And then giving them the choice, right? Because like it's not my job to make them succeed, because then that's me being a savior. I don't ever want to be anyone's savior. So anyone out there, if you think I'm your savior, you're wrong. So one time I'll tell you you're wrong, but you're wrong. I'm not your savior. I never was, never will be. It's not my role. My role is to be my own savior, and hopefully that example makes you want to be your own savior too. But if it doesn't, that's cool too, because I did what I came for. So all the things that I'm offering, opportunities, choices, nothing more. All the things she offers, probably the same thing if I were guessing, right? Same thing, just opportunities.
Yeah, not shoving them down anybody's throat. They're not for everybody. But
Exactly.
I like to just invite people to come and play in the energy that is already available to us now. That joy.
Yeah, exactly. She's awesome. So if you guys don't know anything about her, I didn't know anything about her, feel free to go and explore those things that she offers, because it sounds awesome. And I like the energy that she carries. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for coming. You're awesome. Thank you for having me. And this has just been insanely awesome. It's actually on my clock, which is not right, but it says 3:33 p.m. So this is the magic time in life where the perfect moments showed up together to create an even better moment. We both paid attention, and it's been magical. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'll share some of the links from MTVO and things below, so in the comments, so people can investigate. If it's in front of you, if you're curious.
Explore.
Awesome.
That's what we call our people that are in training to be our members. They're called explorers. So, and it's like really cool, fun concept. We like to like playful things. Like we have Nifty Ninja Tech, for instance, on Activation Station as like a joke, but also really fun. Because spiritual badassery,
That's what I was always teaching the kids, is that you are honing your ninja skills to be
yes,
right?
Yep.
With every mistake you make.
Exactly. I can't imagine the training a ninja would go through, but I think it's probably like life.
Exactly. It's like life. It is life, just another version of it.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for sharing your light. And I'm so excited to be able to witness and experience all of the things that you are putting out into the world. So good luck with everything that's coming down the pipeline.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do as well. Thanks for having me, and congratulations on the summit. Anytime that we're able to create opportunities like this for the world, it's huge. So thank you again.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Have a blessed and beautiful one.